Welcome back to the Mayoral Podcast, everybody. I'm your host, Matt Mayer. Please make sure you hit the like button, subscribe, and share with friends and family to help me grow the channel. And I'll jump right into the topics for today. There's a lot for me to cover. I've been off for a couple of weeks. Just had the birth of my second son and the holidays, so things got a little bit crazy over here at the Mayer household. And I appreciate you guys for coming back after a little hiatus from making videos. So first thing I want to jump into, I mentioned in the open, are the political winds shifting? And what do I mean by that? You look here, and this is from about a month ago. This is former CNN anchor Chris Cuomo, and he's on with Patrick Bet-David on his podcast talking about how he would be open to voting for Trump. Now, I don't ultimately think he is going to vote for Trump, but he does point out that while Trump was in office, people weren't trying to kill us, and they are trying to kill us a lot more now that Joe Biden's in office. So you see things like that. And then you see things like this. This is from Muslim leaders that are in swing states, and it says we are announcing President Biden has lost the 2024 election. Says an organizer, we're looking to find a way to build a mechanism of coordinating between all swing states so that we're constantly working together to ensure that Muslim Americans will come out in all those states, and that Mr. Biden will lose each and every single one of them. So it's crazy to think that Muslims are going to try to get out and vote against Joe Biden just because he's taken a somewhat pro-Israel stance. You'd like to see him take a little bit firmer stance, but his stance hasn't been overall terrible on Israel, as a lot of the far left wing has been supporting Palestine and being very pro these protests that seemingly magically pop up not only all over the United States, but all over the world. It only seems that these left-wing protests seem to garner enough legs for people to do these protests, not only for a long period of time, but all over the globe. Which is, I mean, it's interesting to say the least. I'll cover a little bit. I'll talk a little bit more about that later. So moving on, like I said, got a lot to cover here. But again, Cuomo, Muslim groups turning on Biden, shifting away from their, what you would think would be a guaranteed vote there. I mean, Chris Cuomo's only one guy, but he does have a fairly large audience, even though he's no longer on CNN. And same thing with the Palestinians or the Muslims. You would think that they would be more prone to voting for Democrats just because of their policies. But realistically, ideologically, they're not very aligned with the far left-wing trans LGBT type of agenda. And it's amazing that they were able to win these votes in the first place. So what are they going to do? This is just a clip here and just kind of playing on a loop of people stuffing ballot boxes. You better believe that they're going to try to bring ballot boxes back. They're going to put them all over the place, say safest, most fair election you've ever seen in your life. And what does that mean? It means they're going to pull out all the stops again to try to beat down Trump, keep him out of office. It's funny, and this Charles McGonigal rather, it said he was in charge of investigating Trump for Russia collusion and has now been convicted of colluding with Russia. So it's so funny. You hear a lot of these mainstream right-wing political commentators thinking specifically of Dan Bongino. He will say that they are doing what they're accusing you of doing. And this is exactly what happened in this case. He was in charge of investigating the Donald Trump collusion, and he ultimately ended up being the one that was in bed with Russia. So just a quick story to point out the hypocrisy. And again, like Bongino says, and a lot of other people say out there, they are doing what they're accusing you of doing. Like all the racism, that's on them. That's not on us. And then here's another a clip here. This is a guy from Chicago. I'm not going to play the clip, but this guy here, this Andre Numbers USA on Twitter, he doesn't have a very large following. I follow him. I think he puts out some good content, and he says here, our policy is not sensible and it's harmful to Black Americans. This video captures both fact and emotion. Well done. So this is just these guys talking about these encampments in Chicago. I'm from Chicago. I've seen some of these things when I've gone back in the last couple of months. I'll be honest, I didn't go driving around looking for them, and I didn't go exploring for more once I saw them, but it seemed to be obvious that there was more homelessness and more these tents and weird things that had popped up all over Chicago, and that goes kind of along with the illegal immigration problem there. and it goes to talk about, like, they're trying to replace the voters that they're losing. And I'll go over a little bit more on that when it comes to like the culture wars and how they shift the narrative and how they kind of shift the general population at a certain age and how they kind of try to capture the younger audience. They've always gone after the younger people, and it's really quite interesting. But again, here's just another example here of them trying to replace the people that are reliably voting for them, that are starting to turn on them because their policies are so terrible, even for these people that typically vote Democrat. Chicago is a very Democratic city. It has a large black population. Black people tend to vote very heavily Democrat, and they're just not buying it anymore. It's like the emperor's new clothes. They sold them a wardrobe that clearly is not there, and they're tired of buying the BS. So it's interesting to see the dynamic, the difference between two of the largest cities in the country and the way that the mayors have kind of approached the immigration problem. Now, I think most people know that Texas is shipping a lot of the immigrants that are pouring over the southern border to some of these sanctuary cities, and New York and Chicago were one of them, claiming that they were sanctuary cities. Now, Eric Adams, the current mayor, was saying that before it hit his doorstep, but then once it hit his doorstep, he's like, holy shit, like, we can no longer do this. And he's kind of essentially turned on the Biden administration. And this is from the New York Post. It's from early December. It says, New York City, Eric Adams admits D.C. migrant crisis meeting was fruitless. And he said, quote, help is not on the way. And I highlighted one thing here, and it says, this is a quote from him, and it says, I was left with the cold reality that help is not on the way in the immediate future. It's going to be, at this moment, it's going to be up to New Yorkers and this administration to continue to navigate this challenge that we're facing. And the stark contrast between the way Eric Adams is approaching it and the way Brandon Johnson is approaching it is totally crazy. And Adams is, like I said, he's finding out that the sanctuary city is not a very good position. And like New York can't handle these immigrants, these illegal immigrants. Chicago can't handle them. Those are two of the three largest cities. New York is the largest, Chicago is the third in the country. And they're talking about 10, 20, 30,000 illegal immigrants. They can't handle them. They don't have the infrastructure. What do you think these border towns like Eagle Pass and all these other border towns in Texas and Arizona and California, what do you think they could actually do? How many illegal immigrants can they handle? And all these people are coming over in the thousands per month in each one of these towns. If they stay there, it's a complete disaster, even more so than these big cities. So Abbott's saying, fine, this is a federal issue. The illegal immigration is, or the immigration policy rather, in this case, the illegal immigration is on the federal government. So there's really nothing that Abbott can do. And same thing with these other governors. Like if they could build the wall, they would. Some of them would, but Abbott certainly would. But the foreign policy has to deal with, or the immigration policy has to go through the federal government, and their policies are leading to these monstrous numbers of illegal immigration, or of illegal immigrants. And Abbott's saying, fine, if you're going to cheerlead from Chicago and New York, and you're going to say this is our problem, well, we're going to ship them to you. And here's Adams. This is from December 19th, this post. And it says, Adams is encouraging New Yorkers to go to D.C. and protest against New York City's migrant crisis. Like, Adams gets it. He understands that a lot of these immigrants are coming from Texas. But it's not Texas. Yeah, Texas is placing them there, but that's Texas's problem, that they're saying, okay, you're the one who cheerleaded this. This is your guy in the office. Here you go. Have some of this problem. And Adams is going about it the right way in terms of letting his people know, hey, this is not Texas. Like, don't go to Texas. Because if Biden stopped the illegal immigration problem, then Texas wouldn't have the problem, and then they wouldn't pawn it off on us because we cheerleaded it. So, yeah, it's a political stunt by Abbott, no doubt, but the onus falls on the Biden administration. So, you see the way that he approaches it versus the way that Brandon Johnson approaches it. And I'm going to play this this clip really quick of Brandon Johnson, because everything he says is just ridiculous. But here's him talking about the illegal immigration problem. And you'll notice what I was saying about Adams. Adams saying, hey, this is a D.C. problem. This is a federal government issue. This is why we have the problem. Adams is going to straight blame it on Texas. He knows how to toe the party line, apparently. But, Johnson knows how to toe the party line, apparently. But Adams is fed up with it. And he's going directly to the source, which is the Biden administration. And they're the one that's causing it. So here's the idiot mayor of Chicago, Brandon Johnson, talking about this crisis and blaming it on Texas.
The issue is not just how we respond in the city of Chicago, it's the fact that we have a governor, an elected official in the state of Texas that is placing families on buses without shoes, cold, wet, tired, hungry, afraid, traumatized, and then they come to the city of Chicago where we have homelessness, we have mental health clinics that have been shut down and closed. You have people who are seeking employment. The governor of Texas needs to take a look in the mirror of the chaos that he is causing for this country.
The guy is so stupid, he doesn't even understand what he's saying. The governor of Texas does not control the immigration. I said about it 10 times so far this episode, and this guy's out there blaming Greg Abbott. Hello, it's Biden. Now, I don't think he's necessarily that dumb. I think he knows, but he's just going to blame it on the Republican because he knows how to toe the party line. You see what happened to Eric Adams? They're going after him with a campaign finance charge that happened literally months after he started speaking out against the illegal immigration crisis that is plaguing not only the border states, but also a lot of major cities in this country. And like clockwork, the FBI is investigating him. So Johnson, I'm going to give him a little bit of credit here. I think he's just seen what happened when you turn on the machine. The machine comes back at you with more force than you can go at it with. So again, don't fall for that. I can't even believe that people fall for this. Like, this is not Abbott. This is not, if the legal immigration is not on the state of Texas, it's on the federal government. It's not Abbott's fault that these migrants are pouring over the border in record numbers. So what are the Democrats going to do about it? Of course, they're going to try to step in. I showed that little brief clip of them ballot stuffing. This here is from Fox News. This is just showing Trump's campaign calendar versus his courtroom calendar, and everything seemingly magically lines up with important events along the election calendar, and they just so happen to magically the day before, the day after, right around that particular day, put a Trump trial date or a Trump court date. So here's Fox News covering this.
Red deals with the courtroom. So Jack Smith has asked the U.S. Supreme Court to fast track a decision. So here are the dates I'm looking at, right? March 4th is the day before Super Tuesday. March 4th is when the trial is expected to be started. The justices have asked Trump's lawyers to give them an answer by the 20th of December, about 9 days from now.
Okay, so I really just wanted you guys to see the timeline there. This is from middle of December, as you hear Bill Hemmer talking about 9 days from now, the December 20th. But you can see on here, it says January 15th, Iowa caucuses, E. Jean Carroll's civil defamation suit. Same day, March 4th is the January 6th trial date. March 5th is Super Tuesday. They're trying to do whatever they can to put this in people's minds right before they go out to vote. So then you see, what else are they going to do? Well, going back to the same playbook when it comes to the Hunter Biden thing. Oh, this is all Russia disinformation. Russia. The Russia collusion hoax, that was Trump colluding with Russia. That proven to be absolutely false. The Hunter Biden laptop was claimed to be Russian disinformation. They pulled it off social media right before the election. And what happened? It ended up being true. And now Hunter Biden's out there still claiming that it's Russian disinformation. So again, same old things. They're going to try to interfere as much as they can. Like, it's obvious when you see it. Once you start looking at these things, you're like, okay, clearly they're going to put some of Trump's trial dates, some of these BS trials, right in front of these events where people are going to be out and voting. And then what are they going to do? Russia. It's going to come back to Russia. Everything's going to be Russia. That's the only thing that they have, and they're going to continue to push it. So the court case that happened in the state of Colorado, where it went to the Colorado Supreme Court, they ruled in favor 4-3 of barring Trump from not only the primary ballot, but the general ballot. That's ultimately going to go to the Supreme Court. Still waiting to see when that goes up there. There's been a temporary stay, and I'll cover that in a second. But here's a legal analyst that came on CNN. It's a very brief clip. I'm not gonna play it. So he tells CNN, this is December 20th is when it was posted. The U.S. Supreme Court will act quickly and overturn Colorado's Supreme Court ruling 9-0. So he believes that the Supreme Court will get it right. Again, I did a reaction video the day that happened. It was about 2 weeks ago now, when they initially said that Trump is going to be ineligible from being on the Colorado primary ballot and the general ballot in Colorado because of the 14th Amendment citing insurrection, which he hasn't been convicted of. We all know that he hasn't been convicted of anything yet. He's in trial with a lot of things, and let's see how those things play out. But he's also not been charged with insurrection. There's no sedition or insurrection charges on the January 6th case. They're charging him with like defrauding the American people or something like that. Some weird charge that's the best that Jack Smith could come up with. Trust me, they are trying their best to get him on this insurrection, but they can't even formally charge it. And the Supreme Court rules 4-3, the Supreme Court of Colorado, in favor of banning him from the ballot altogether. It's absolutely insane that would happen. And they're all liberals. So there was 3 liberals that were like, hey, look, like, this clearly is not something that we can do based on the fact that not only has he not been found guilty, he's not even being charged. We can't just say we don't like what he did, so therefore we're going to call it an insurrection and we're going to bar him from the ballot. That's a dangerous precedent to set. If you're a liberal, or if you have liberal friends out there, ask yourself this question. What if the state of Texas did that to Joe Biden and just said, we don't like what Joe Biden, the dealings he had with the connections with his son and his son's international business deals, the money that he was making, we are going to bar Joe Biden from the ballot for something he's not even been formally charged with. What would your thoughts be on that? Regardless of if you think he's completely innocent or completely guilty, it doesn't matter. He's not even been charged with it, and you're going to bar him from the ballot? With no conviction, no charges, nothing? You're just going to say the court of public opinion thinks that he's guilty, so therefore we're going to bar him? The rule of law would be completely done in this country if something like that happened. And to be honest with you, I hope that the Republicans don't do that. I know there's some people out there that are saying Republicans need to retaliate and do something like that, and there's talks about that, but it's just going to lead to even more nonsense. We really do need a 9-0 unanimous decision from the Supreme Court. If it's 6-3 and the liberals side with the Colorado Supreme Court, that's not going to look great. It'll still keep Trump on the ballot and basically shoot down these other states, whether you've seen it or not. The state of Maine, I'm going to talk about that in a second, has taken him off the ballot, which is ridiculous. And as I said right here, the state of Colorado has temporarily put him back on the ballot. So we'll see ultimately where this goes. It's going to go to the Supreme Court. It's going to get shot down. What the ruling is going to be in terms of the numbers, we will see. Hopefully it's 9-0. That would be better for unifying people in the stance that you can't just bar someone from the ballot because you don't like what they did without them being convicted of some type of crime that would make them ineligible for the office of the President of the United States. So, like I said, state of Maine, here we go. This person, the Secretary of State, just made a decision that she's going to ban Trump from the ballot. This was not a court case. She's just saying that I don't like what Trump did. He's banned from the ballot. This is more dangerous than the one in Colorado. At least that was a case in court. Now, again, he's still not been charged with anything. He's not been convicted of anything. It's a bad ruling, but at least it went through the legal system. This is just a Secretary of State saying Trump is guilty. He cannot be on the ballot in the state of Maine. And I know I talked about Colorado. It's like, hey, he was unlikely to win that state anyway. That might actually be an opportunity for, if he were to be barred from the ballot, to rally the forces of the Republicans and the independents to vote for RFK just to take that state away from Biden as a, hey, like, look what happens when you fuck around and find out, like, you're going to lose a state that you should have almost automatically won. But in the state of Maine, they have different districts, or whatever they call them, and Trump did win one electoral vote there and has for the last couple of years. So it could cost him if he's ultimately left off the ballot in Maine. I don't think he's going to be left off the ballot in any of these states. But again, it's just something to keep an eye on. And you see some of these other states, like California didn't even go that far. The state of Michigan shot it down. So like some of these pretty liberal states, at least with their legislatures, they even shot it down and said, hey, look, there's really no reason, like, as much as we don't like Trump and we don't want him to win, you can't just hold him off the ballot for something he has not been convicted of. So at least some cooler heads did prevail there. What is the Democrats' like platform? What do they want to do? And I ask myself this question all the time. What are they doing? Why are they doing it? Well, they want people to be fat. They want people to be lazy. They want them to be unemployed, and they want them to rely on the government. So therefore, those people vote for these policies and keep them in power and get them even more power. Here's an article. This is from late November of 2023 now, last year. It says NYC law banning discrimination based on height and weight goes into effect. So you can no longer discriminate based on height and weight. And you saw something like this, similar from Southwest, that said like overweight passengers now don't have to buy a second seat, even though they're taking a second seat. That's a bad business model. If somebody's going to require 2 seats, that's 1 seat you cannot sell. But they're saying, oh, well, this person can take 2 seats and like that's fine. It's really kind of crazy. But especially with Southwest, if anyone's ever flown Southwest, you know that it's first come, first serve. So if this person checks in late and it's a relatively full flight, they're going to end up in a middle seat. They can't have 2 seats at that point. So it's really kind of ridiculous. Again, what do they want to do? They want to keep you dependent on the government. So here's another story of them wanting to keep people dependent on the government. This homeless guy talks about how they're paying him money to remain homeless, and he talks about why he's not going out and getting a job and contributing to society because they're paying him to live his life, and therefore he's going to continue to vote for this. So here's a real brief clip just explaining what these people are doing.
Where are you from?
This video.
Louisiana, Texas area.
How long you been in San Francisco?
Since June.
Just
To
wait.
be homeless, it's pretty fucking easy here. I mean, if we're gonna be realistic, they pay you to be homeless here.
When you said that San Francisco pays people to be homeless, what did you mean by that?
Yeah.
Did you mean that literally?
Elaborate.
Yeah. I mean, I get $620 a month, dude.
From general assistance?
Yeah.
Or what'd you get? How was that hard to get?
Fucking phone call, bro.
Wow.
Fucking phone call. 200 food stamps and $620 cash a month.
Wow.
Forget about it. Why wouldn't I do it? You know, it's fucking free money, dude.
Yeah.
This right now is literally by choice.
Yo.
Literally by choice. Like, why would I want to pay rent? I'm not doing shit. I got a fucking cell phone that I have Amazon Prime and Netflix on.
I mean, you hear it right there. This guy says that they're paying him $620 a month, I believe is what he was saying. It was like $300 worth of food stamps. All he's got to do is make a phone call. Like, yeah, they want this. And this guy's going to continue to vote for this because he's living his life for free. He says he's got a cell phone with Amazon Prime and Netflix. And you think about if you pay for a cell phone, that's about $80, $100 a month. Amazon and Netflix, you know, you're looking at about a total of $125, $130 between all those things. Maybe not even that much. He gets $600, and then he's still got $500+ to spend on whatever. And he's got $300 worth of food stamps. He says it's literally by choice. Why he's going to pay rent? It's absolutely unbelievable. But this is what they want. This is exactly what they want. And how do they get here? So that's the question. And you look here at these. This is opensecrets.org. And this is the top contributors. It says 2023 to 2024. And I just did it by the universities because we know that universities lean extremely liberal. But look at these total donations here. You look at like University of California. And there was about $805,000 worth of donations from people that work there. $720,000 were to Democrats. $25,000 were to Republicans. And 66,000 to liberal groups. So more than 2-to-1 were just going to liberal left-wing groups. And I don't know what that number is. Let me do some quick math here, folks. 25 divided by 805. So that's roughly 3%. That's 3% right there. 3% of this 25,000 is 3% of 805,000. That's what's going to Republican causes. And you see that all over the map. You do the math for any one of these universities. You look at Harvard, $7,800 to Republicans, nothing to conservative groups. $7,800 of $267,000 in donations from Harvard University. I mean, we're talking 90 plus to 1, 95 plus percent, 95 plus percent in some of these cases. And you wonder why these liberal causes get a lot of wings. So you look at here. This is from my buddy here, Cat Turd, and I believe it's at CatTurd2 on Twitter. And he says, in case you were wondering why most people get dumber the longer they stay in school, says, they go from the woke government schools to liberal brainwashing institutions. I just showed there's a 90+% tilt that are liberal in these universities. And you've seen it kind of all over the place with these pro-Palestinian protests that are happening on these universities. And that's an extreme left-wing cause. That's not even like a far left-wing. That's an extreme left-wing cause, the pro-Palestine crew. And it's just commonplace. Like these protests are happening all over the country, mostly by young people. You wonder how these people get funded. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind that these protests are being funded somewhere. I said earlier in this episode, these people are doing it not only for a long duration. Like these started, and they're still going on today. These started 2 months ago now, and they're going to continue on, and they're going on all over the world. Do you really think there's that much support for Palestine? Or do you think people are getting paid for it? Like it's Occam's razor here. What's the most logical solution? There's that much support for this little plot of land in the Middle East? Or are these people getting paid for it? Yeah, they're getting paid for it. There's no doubt that this is being funded by some left-wing organizations, no doubt. So again, CatTurd draws it out pretty well here, talking about why these people end up being in these liberal, or like how these people get brainwashed, essentially being liberal. Like the schools are liberal, the institutions are liberal, the large corporations are liberal, and what do these people end up doing with their lives? Like, well, let's see, where do they come out? Like, Claudine Gay, the Harvard president who couldn't say that genocide against Jews was bad. And actually, just breaking as of now, today is Tuesday, January 2nd, and it's about 2 p.m. Eastern. I just got a notification that she's finally actually going to step down after that debacle that she had on Capitol Hill. And I don't think it's even really because of that. I think the pressure is because she has, it says here, she's got 11 total papers, mostly about race and gender, 40 plagiarism allegations in 11 papers. That's pretty bad. Either you're terrible at citing, which why are you the president of Harvard University, or you're just trying to get away with it. I'm guessing the latter is the case in that particular scenario. So again, end up the president of major university writing nothing but race and gender papers. Or maybe they're the editor of the New York Times that says the most stylish, the 71, I don't know why they picked 71, but anyway, 71 most stylish people of 2023. 1 is a man who thinks he's a woman in Dylan Mulvaney. 2 is a cockroach. And 3 is a Las Vegas sphere. Like, how are these people? It says, it's literally says the most stylish people. 2 of those aren't even people. And then 1, of course, they're gonna flaunt Dylan Mulvaney because they know that this is one of the most famous trans people out there, and they want to promote this person as a icon of some sort, which is absolutely crazy. And what else do they do? They become tech CEOs, and one of these tech CEOs, like this guy, this is from actually a few months ago. I just finally saw this. This is how they bury these leads here. It's Christian Lang. Or Lang, however you say his name. He had a sex contract with one of his employees. These people are all they're all really creepy and weird. Not all of them, but most of them are really creepy and weird. And you see this guy, it's like this guy was such a big, like, anti-Trumper, anti-Elon Musk, and again, just somebody who goes out and out of their way to, like, virtue signal, like, way more than you would think. Those people raise the most red flags for me. I'm like, what did this person do, or what is this person currently doing that makes them virtue signal this hard? And here's an example: this tech CEO who had a sex contract with one of his assistants. An absolute class act. Great guy right there. And you ask yourself, what else can they do? Well, they could be the National Women's Law Center president, Fatina Graves. The liberal witness took to a Title IX hearing saying that female athletes should, quote, learn to lose gracefully to biological men. Now, I know that's in quotes. I listened to her. I'm not going to have you guys listen to her. I don't think she necessarily says exactly that. I know he quoted it there. I think it's slightly different, but it's essentially what she's saying is we need to learn to lose to these men, these mediocre male athletes who are taking something that's going to suppress their athletic ability in these estrogen hormones. That's not going to be, if you want to enhance your athletic ability, you take testosterone. That's what steroids, anabolic steroids are basically doing, is increasing your levels of testosterone, or HGH is another example of a performance enhancing drug. You wouldn't take estrogen if you want to be better. Well, these mediocre male athletes are taking estrogen to make themselves worse at this sport, and they're still dominating the sports. And, Fatima Graves says, just get used to it. Just deal with it. So again, like this is what happens. You see it from the institutions. It starts at the elementary level, overwhelmingly liberal. And then you see the institutions, the higher education institutions. I just showed you the breakdown of the donations, and it's like 90 plus, 95 to 1. The one example that I actually broke down was University of California. It's 97. I'm sorry, 95, not 90 to 1. 90, 10, 90 plus percent, 95 plus percent. And the University of California was 97% of the donations went to either Democrats or liberal causes. Just absolutely insane. And what does that lead to? What are they doing? They're blurring the lines not only for gender and making people believe that men are women and women are men and there's no difference there, but this is a story from Canada of this 50-year-old male who's identifying as a 13-year-old girl. He's competing in swimming competitions and going into the girls' locker room, not the women's locker room, the girls' locker room. These are 13-year-old girls. These aren't women. These are girls. They're not women. They're girls. This is a 50-year-old man masquerading as a 13-year-old woman, and they're just okay with it. They're just okay with it because, again, they've done this for years. They've slowly taken over the institutions. They've slowly taken over big corporations. And this is the result. This is one of many ridiculous results that leads us to this culture war, which I've said in the past. It's really three things in my opinion. It's climate, it's race, and it's LGBT stuff. Like that's the crux of the current culture war within the United States and within the West right now. And this is why they have been winning it slowly but surely over time, is they've taken over these institutions and brainwashed these young, malleable minds into believing this absolute nonsense. It's absolute lunacy. And then you see, but this is where like you have a little bit of optimism. You see people like this. This is a video of a father reading from one of these books that they're claiming Republicans are trying to ban. Republicans are trying to ban this book. He gets shut down at this PTA or this city council meeting, student council, whatever meeting this is, because it's too graphic. And everyone in there is an adult. If it's too graphic for that, then why is it allowed in the public library for children, for kids under the age of 18? Now, if you're like me, you're saying, hey, look, I don't want to read that crap. I have no interest in it at all. But there's a time and place for it, and if people want to read it, they should be free to read it. But they have to be of age. I've used the example before. Movie stores used to always have an adult section. And in order to rent a movie, sometimes as a kid you'd be able to sneak back there, but in order to rent the movie, they'd ID you and say, okay, are you of age to rent this movie? And I can't remember if it was 18 or 21. I don't remember the age on it, but it was something like that. And They restricted people from renting it who weren't of age. That's what Republicans are saying. That's what conservatives are saying. Like, hey, look, have your freak book. I don't give a shit. Do whatever the hell you want, but don't put it in don't put it in a children's library. You fucking weirdos. Don't put it in a fucking children's library. And this is what this guy's saying. He's getting booted out of this city council meeting. He's getting shut down because he wants to call out this LGBT book that's talking about like sexual content. It's like that needs to go into the adult section. That's it. If you have an adult section in a public library, which I don't know if they do, I haven't been in a library in years, but that's where it needs to be. It needs to be age restricted. You need to be that age to be able to check that book out or even read that book at the library, right? That's what you need. That's what you need to do. But again, that's what they want to do. They want to sexualize kids. It's so absolutely gross. This is a great one. It's somebody put this together. So thanks at the Patriot Oasis. I don't know if this is this person's content or it says from I mean therefore I am. Another good follow on Twitter. But like this is Biden's White House. The adults are back in the room, guys. The adults are back. This is the Pride Month. Like a bunch of trans people on the White House lawn in the upper right hand corner. Look at these guys juking in the upper left hand corner for Easter. These weirdos dancing in for Christmas at the White House. What is this guy wearing on his head or this girl? Whatever. Who knows? But again, this is what it leads to. Like, oh, they look the other way with that stuff. And you may have seen this too. Probably this is from Netflix. I recently canceled my Netflix subscription for things like this. This is a clip from the Barack and Michelle Obama produced movie. It was called Leave the World Behind, and it's about a cyber attack that shuts down most of America or whatever it is. And in this, the couple says to each other, don't trust anyone, especially white people. If the races were reversed, if Trump came out with this video and the races were reversed, the internet would melt down. You didn't even see this on the mainstream media. They didn't give a fuck about this. Like, that guy and his whole platform, Barack Obama, is what started most of this culture war, or really ignited the flames of the culture war. That guy is a piece of shit. He is terrible. I'm sorry for you liberals. You think he's liberal Jesus. He's not that. There might not be someone who stokes the culture war more than Barack Obama does currently or has ever done before. And then you see, like I said, the liberal causes, the extreme liberal left-wing causes, like the pro-Palestine crowd, well, where do they get their enthusiasm? Like, young people have more enthusiasm than old people like me. And 18 to 24, the majority of 18 to 24 years old, believe Israel should be ended and given to Hamas. This is from the Gateway Pundit. Like, that's literally what they believe. And, like, is that surprising, given the fact that our higher learning institutions donate overwhelmingly to Democrats? I showed you the Harvard breakdown, and then the Harvard president can't even condemn genocide against Jews. And these are the people that are in charge of these major universities and shaping the minds of young people. Is this shocking to you? Could this possibly be shocking to you? There's no way this could be shocking to you. It's a numbers game, and they've been running wild with these crazy left-wing causes and implementing them in these universities, in these major institutions in the United States. And this is the result of it. People that believe that Israel should be eliminated and given Hamas, a terror group that rapes women and children and murders babies. That's what they believe. So again, I talked about this. This is another pro-Palestinian protest. This was Times Square in New York, New Year's Eve celebration, and there's just people marching in the middle of the street. It's cold in New York. Like, it's cold in New York in late December. And these people are walking with these Palestinian flags. They're protesting. They did it all over the globe the last week for the new year, protesting in favor of Palestine. Like, would you think all these people, there's that much support, or do you think these are being funded? Like, let's just be honest with ourselves. This is being funded. There's going to be a couple of people that are that committed to the cause, but the overwhelming majority of the people that are marching here, that are organizing or helping the organization, of these protests, and the people that are actually protesting, they're being funded. It's the long and short of it. There's no other logical explanation for this type of mass support for a group that literally, for the government of the Palestinian people, the Hamas, that just murdered a bunch of Jews and raped their women and took 200 plus people hostage, killed. I think it was, the numbers has changed. It's over 1,000 people. I don't know the exact number. So, like, think about it logically. There's no way this is not being funded. No way. Then these are the things that really stoke the culture wars. You see, this is from Newsweek, the headline itself. Most people are about headlines. They read headlines. They don't really read the entire article. But it says here, trans activist Kendall Stevens arrested, sparks MAGA uproar. Like, you don't think that that's some type of divisive headline? Of course they know it. They're stoking the tensions there. And they want you to think, oh, well, it's the Republicans, it's the pro-Trumpers, that it's them that are making a bigger deal of this. It says here, the trans activist Kendall Stevens was arrested for raping and sexually assaulting 2 minors. But it's because we realized it, because we realized the nonsense, the crazy clown show that's going on in the White House. It's because we noticed headlines like this. Oh, a trans activist is raping minors and sexually assaulting minors, but it's Republicans' fault for noticing. Here's another example. The recent controversy of this staffer for a Democratic senator having sex and filming it in the Senate meeting room or chamber, whatever it was. I don't even know what it was. And I found it funny, and I pointed this out. I can't be the only one who noticed it. This is this Aiden, I'm not even going to try to say his last name. This is Aiden's LinkedIn photo, or at least his former one. And I'm going to click on it here to make it a little bit bigger, see if I can zoom in. Rehoboth, Delaware. That's so... I find that extremely interesting. This is his LinkedIn photo. It could be nothing. Could mean nothing. I've looked up Rehoboth Beach, Delaware. The population is 1,150 people as of 2021. And this guy is a staffer for... I think it's Cardin is his name. He's from Maryland. So Maryland and Delaware are fairly close. It's possible that this guy had been there for other reasons. But Rehoboth Beach, does that sound familiar to any of you guys? I know a certain sleepy president who has a vacation home there and goes there seemingly every other weekend. I just found it interesting. Look, could be nothing, could mean something. I don't know. But it's very interesting to say the least. And then again, here we go. What is it? Oh, it says Senate staffer alleged by conservative outlets to have had sex in a hearing room is no longer employed. I love how it's like alleged by conservative outlets. There's a video out there. Like, who else is not alleged? Why is CBS, NBC, ABC, if they weren't fake news, why wouldn't they saying, hey, look, allegedly this video is from this staffer who's no longer involved or who's no longer employed with Senator Ben Cardin of Maryland. Like, obviously, and it's not even alleged. Like, there's video evidence of it, right? It's crazy. Again, it's like, why do people turn to alternative news sources? Because this is NBC. This is supposed to be the type of down the middle, NBC, ABC, CNN, down the middle. No, they're far left. They're just not as far left as MSNBC. Like, it's not a conservative conspiracy. It's not us reporting on it and reporting on something that's not true. It's like, no, why can you say Senate staffer alleged to have had sex in a hearing room is no longer employed? That's all you needed to put. They added by conservative outlets. They didn't need to add that. Like, does it have a left-wing tilt? Of course it does. You put a headline like that. It's absolutely insane. So last topic here, and I'm sure I'll cover it in my upcoming episodes. This is talking about the Epstein client list. This actually was released mid-December, saying that over 170 of Jeffrey Epstein's high-profile associates will be named in court documents set to be unsealed in the first days of 2024. It is now Tuesday, January 2nd. They haven't unsealed them. I saw a bunch of different stuff on Twitter talking about Clinton and Trump and this guy and that guy. So I'm not going to, until we see the documents, I'm not even going to really comment on them. I think there's people out there that have come out and said like, oh, I've been on that plane before, but so I'm going to show up in the logs, maybe trying to get ahead of it. I saw RFK talk about that. He says that he went from, A to B, but it wasn't the island. I don't know. I don't know how detailed the logs are. I don't know if they're going to say you went from Miami to Creep Island and then from Creep Island back to Miami or whatever. I don't know I don't know exactly what they're going to show, but ultimately I don't know how much this is going to lead to, whether it's, whether it actually has some high profile politicians or it doesn't. I'm really kind of skeptical of, this is going to be like it's names on a piece of paper. How much is that admissible in court? I don't know, because they could have just doctored it and said Bill Clinton was on it and he wasn't, or Donald Trump or Barack Obama or whoever. They could have just written someone's name down. If they're these, you get what I'm saying? Like if this is a log that's kept by Jeffrey Epstein's associates and it's only for their view, then what's to stop them from putting anyone's name on it? Like it doesn't really put, in my opinion, doesn't really put people in the situation. I think there's got to be more than just names on a piece of paper saying he went from A to B and B was Creep Island and he's automatically a child molester or she's automatically a child molester, whatever it might be. So we will see what comes out of this in the days to come. I'll comment on it. People want to see this. What's one of the interesting things that I think I saw about it, or I've been reading, has been that there's going to be, I think, a few names that are still going to be redacted. So if, let's say that there is a name like Bill Clinton that's on there, let's just say that there is, and his name's not redacted, and somebody else's is, that leads you to like question, like who is being protected more than an ex-president? So we will see ultimately when it comes out. I'll certainly comment when I see the names on there, and if there is some type of redactions, like, well, okay, if there's really, really big names on there, who is not being listed would be the question that's being protected, because that would be something that I would be extremely interested in. I think most of my viewers and most of Americans and most people around the world would be interested in as well. That's it for this episode of the Mayoral Podcast. Thank you all for tuning in. Please make sure you hit the like button, subscribe, share with friends and family on your way out, and I will see you all in the next video.